Beginning the countdown list at number 10 is LMFAO, still one of the coolest music group names ever, which is why it's such a shame that their career didn't last. Their song Party Rock Anthem took over the world back in 2011 because it basically forced everyone to get up and dance no matter how shy they were. It was such a hit song that it became one of only 20 songs to reach the Recording Industry Association of America Diamond status. They earned their second #1 hit later in 2012 when they released their song Sexy and I Know It. Another banger. The party boys who made the group, Reubens and Sky Blue, are actually related. Reubens is Sky Blue's uncle, which was actually part of their demise in the end. The party ended for them in 2016 when they split up after a nasty feud between them, which Sky Blue aired out all over Facebook. He accused his uncle of abandoning him after a back injury which left him unable to perform during their huge stadium tour. He basically said that he continued performing as LMFAO without him. After the split, Reubens released a solo album called Party Rock Mansion in 2016, but only sold 144 copies in its first week. Sky also produced 2 albums, but neither of them got the party started again, if you know what I'm saying. Next up at number 9 is Tila Tequila. She rose to fame when she was recognized early on as a social media celebrity, what people now call an influencer. She was the most popular person on MySpace during the time, and her career took off from there. But in the past decade, she's become one of the most unpopular people in Hollywood. Back in 2007, MTV thought it'd be smart to capitalize on her large online fan base, so they gave her own dating show called A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila. I actually watched it, not gonna lie. From there, she started getting some minor roles in movies like a Hooters girl in I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. However, all of this went to waste after she posted this bizarre writing on her website called Why I Sympathize with Hitler. In it, she wrote, I quote, "I learned the truth about the war and what Hitler truly did. He was not a bad person as they have made him out to be." On top of that, she posted pictures of herself posing in front of Auschwitz dressed as a seductive looking Nazi. But she really ruined all chances at a return in 2016 when she attacked the Jewish conservative political commentator Ben Shapiro, saying that he should be gassed and sent back to Israel. Her words, not mine. Cruising into number 8 is Stephen Collins. You'd probably know him better as the dad from the hit TV series Seventh Heaven. Not only was he a dad on the show, but he also played a moralistic pastor, which is why fans were stunned when he did one of the least moral acts that someone could do. Back in 2014, footage leaked to TMZ of Stephen talking during one of his personal therapy sessions. In the footage, he admits to his therapist that he had molested underage girls in his past. Turns out, his wife at the time, Faye Grant, was secretly recording their therapy sessions from 2012. Once that was out, the NYPD and the Manhattan Special Victims Squad launched an investigation on him. He ended up doing a huge confession interview with People magazine where he admitted to molesting underage girls on 3 different occasions. According to him, the incidents occurred between the years 1973 to 1994, and he insisted that he hasn't had any urges ever since. For obvious reasons, he has not worked since the footage was leaked, and he was fired from TED 2 shortly after. And at number 7 is Amanda Bynes. She was once the it girl of Hollywood. She started her career at the young age of 10 and quickly rose to fame, making herself an A-list celebrity. But in 2010, she randomly announced her retirement on Twitter, and fans were both shocked and confused. By 2012, things in her life got pretty serious, and quickly too. She was first arrested for an alleged DUI in April, and after that she lost control of her finances and her mom was granted temporary conservatorship. CBC News covered the announcement, and the reasoning was determined for displaying increasingly erratic and bizarre behavior. Later in 2014, she was hospitalized under psychiatric hold. Fans were quick to judge, but Amanda has been open since then about her struggles with mental health and her addiction to drugs. During her interview with Paper in 2018, she said, "I don't know if it was a drug-induced psychosis or what, but it affected my brain in a different way than it affects other people." We were all hoping that she would make a comeback, but she relapsed in October 2019 and began living in a sober home. So yes, she did destroy her career with drug use, but mental health to me is not a joke, so this is not to discredit that. Coming in number 6 is CeeLo Green. His career took off as a musician, becoming a mainstream artist and also landing the role as a judge on The Voice. From there, he also started to dabble in some acting, appearing on SNL, Anger Management, Hotel Transylvania, and Parenthood. But one other thing he's known for is saying things that get him in trouble. He has no issue saying how he feels, and it's landed him in trouble on many occasions. But things took a serious turn in October 2012 when he was accused of sexual battery. A woman claimed he had raped her while partying partying one night. Almost 2 years after the allegations, he received probation and community service after pleading no contest to a lesser charge of giving his victim ecstasy. 2 days after the case was closed on August 31st in 2014, he went on Twitter to talk about it, and rather than an apology or a thanks for the support from fans, he wrote, "If someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with implies consent. People who have really been raped remember." And yeah, that's basically what ended his reputation. TBS cancelled the show, called The Good Life, and he also lost his headlining gig at the Gretna Heritage Festival in New Orleans. He is still pursuing a music career, but we would be lying if we said he does not have the career he used to, or the respect. Cause dude, what the f? Happy to do list at number 5 is Paula Deen. It's easy to recognize her seeing as her face was all over the Food Network for years. She was once everyone's favorite cooking show, Southern Lady, and it led her to getting gigs on shows like Top Chef, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and Master Chef. But all of that changed when a lawsuit was filed against her in 2012. Lisa Jackson, one of her former general managers of one of her restaurants, filed a lawsuit against a celebrity chef accusing her of racial discrimination. She claimed that Paula would use the N-word around workers and wanted to stage a Southern-themed wedding with black men playing slaves. In a testimony during the trial, the manager's lawyer asked her if she had ever used the N-word before, and she said yes, of course. As for the wedding thing, she claimed that she got the idea from another restaurant and called it beautiful and impressive. Once her statements were verified in district court, the Food Network quickly reacted and refused to renew her contract. She did post some apology videos, but it just wasn't enough to save her. Then in 2015, she tweeted a picture of her son in blackface, which is now deleted by the way, and people went pretty crazy about it. So either she just doesn't get it, or like she just doesn't care. Nightmare number 4 spot is Lindsay Lohan. Homegirl had a downward spiral, and to be quite honest, it kinda broke my heart. Being in the spotlight is nothing new for her since she's been working ever since she was just a kid. She first made a name for herself when she took on the lead role in the 1988 remake of The Parent Trap. And from there she became a teen sensation and had a wildly successful career as more time went on. But then her movie streak came to an end when she was arrested in 2007 for a DUI when she got into a car accident and had to go to the hospital. But she was also hit with charges of possession of cocaine and a misdemeanor hit and run following the accident. And yes, your girl went to jail. She was sentenced to 120 days in county jail and 480 hours of community service. Ever since then, her career has not been the same. She moved to Dubai to escape the paparazzi because it's illegal there, and she opened her own beach club in Mykonos. MTV actually did a show with her called Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club, where she went through the process of finding employees, but the show didn't get a second season and it had a lot of mixed reviews. More negative than positive. Although I watched it, and I liked it, cause I like her. But yeah, homegirl's a little bit of a mess. In the 3rd place on our list is Mark Salling. The actor became a big deal when he played Noah Puckerman in the hit TV series Glee. But things went sour back in December 2015 when he was arrested in LA on charges that he had possessed and distributed child pornography. An official statement from investigators was released, and it said that they found a laptop, a USB drive, and a hard drive filled with thousands of pictures and videos of child pornography. The ages of the children were believed to range from 5 years old to 12 years old. Immediately following the news, the mini-series he was signed up for, called Adi Shankar's Gods and Secrets, dropped him from the project. They also released a statement saying, "The innocence of our planet's children is something that must be protected at all costs." He didn't act in anything after that, and the world was shocked when they found out that he died in 2018 because it caused a lot of controversy because people felt that it was hard to be sympathetic towards him after what he had done. However, it is hard not to have compassion for his surrounding family and friends, but his victims will be getting restitution. Taking over our number 2 spot is Farrah Abraham. Her time on Teen Mom OG set her up with a lifetime of fame for her and her daughter Sophia ever since she made her debut on MTV's show 16 and Pregnant. But then she decided she wanted to be an adult film star and entertainer, if you know what I mean. And she was kicked off the show. But she didn't go gracefully. She dropped a $5 million lawsuit on MTV and its parent company called Viacom. She claimed that she was, I quote, "sex shamed for my porn career." The lawsuit ended up getting settled in 2018, but then her finances seemed to be in rough shape. Not only was she starring in sex films, but she also started a line of her own toys. Not children toys, sex toys. But apparently it wasn't enough income to balance her lifestyle because TMZ released an article in 2019 saying that she broke a couple of her leases and owes more than $100,000 in rent. She was also hit with a $12,000 lawsuit for backing out of the celebrity boxing match that she spent months promoting and preparing for. Apparently, the reasoning was she wasn't happy that they wouldn't provide free accommodations for her family. At one point in 2019, she was living in her parents' home, which we saw briefly in an episode when she was still on the show. Finally, in the number 1 spot is Paul Reubens, aka Pee-wee Herman. The actor was huge for his character during the 80s, which ended up becoming a household name. His career was a huge success. He took on 2 feature films and also an Emmy-winning children's TV series. But his reputation and his career changed drastically in 1991. During a visit with his parents in Florida, he was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater because he was spotted masturbating during a movie. He was 38 years old at the time and pleaded no contest and agreed to take part in a new anti-drug campaign to avoid a trial on the misdemeanor charge. After the whole scandal, Pee-wee toys were pulled from the shelves across the nations and he hid from the public eye, pretty much disappearing for the remainder of the 90s. He did attempt a comeback, but more charges of sexual nature were brought against him, but this time around it was related to child pornography. Police officers seized thousands of items from a collection of vintage gay erotica, and he also faced claims of owning sexual images of children. The worst part about this whole thing is that he was the face of a children's franchise, so I feel like that makes it even more disturbing. Number 10 is Charlie Sheen. Between his struggle with drugs, violent behavior, and overdoses, his career technically should have ended 2 decades ago. He was once the highest paid actor, making $1.8 million an episode for his role on 2.5 Men. He was on the show from 2003 to 2011, and many would say that he was basically the face of the entire franchise. But in 2011, he lost it all when he was fired from the show for his erratic behavior and feud with the creator Chuck Lorre. Warner Brothers released a statement saying he was fired due to his, I quote, dangerously self-destructive conduct. And since then, it's just been a downward spiral ever since. His IMDb resume is pretty bare, and he is still recovering from years of substance abuse, which he has recently been open about and says that he is currently sober, so he might be able to turn it around. Not really sure. Next up at number 9 is Thomas Gibson, known for being a longtime star on CBS's hit show Criminal Minds. He took on the role of Aaron Hotchner from 2005 to 2016, and it probably would have been longer than that if he didn't get himself fired. He was axed from the show in August 2016 after he got into an altercation with one of the show's executive producers. But his termination was a long time coming. CBS had issues with him in the past, all related to his anger. In 2010, he was ordered to take anger management classes after allegedly punching an assistant director in the face. So when he got into an argument on set and kicked a producer, it was basically a lost straw. They sent him home immediately that day and originally just gave him a 2-week suspension, which later turned into a permanent termination. Taking on the number 8 spot is Lori Loughlin. The actress was just one of many parents who got caught in a nationwide college admissions scandal in 2019, but her consequence was losing her entire career. The scandal was known as Operation Varsity Blues. People would pay a scam mastermind named William Singer. Lori was accused of paying $500,000 to get her daughters Olivia and Isabella into the University of Southern California as crew recruits, even though they never participated in the rowing sport before. The actress immediately lost everything. She was fired from the Hallmark Channel and from Netflix, which are both networks that held her entire career. She reprised her iconic role as Aunt Becky for the hit Netflix TV series Fuller House, and was also working on a Hallmark series called When Calls the Heart. She lost both, and we haven't seen her in anything ever since. Sliding into number 7 is Disney star Orlando Brown, who made a name for himself for his time on That's So Raven. Throughout the years, we've seen some of our favorite Disney stars go off the deep end once they leave the network, but I don't think any of us expected it from Orlando. In the last decade, he had troubles with the law and got arrested on multiple different occasions. He was first arrested in 2016 and charged with misdemeanor, domestic battery, obstruction of justice, and drug possession with intent to sell. Then later in January 2018, he was arrested again and charged with battery, resisting a police officer, and possession of controlled substance. He had a total of 4 different arrests throughout 2018, and one of them was caught on tape when bounty hunters busted into a house and arrested him in his underwear. He was sentenced to 45 days in jail and ended up getting released on October 1st, 2019. This is what Disney does to you guys. Well, Disney and drugs. Probably the drugs more than the Disney. Moving on to number 6, we have Jeffrey Jones. He first rose to fame in the 80s when he played the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. From there he had a successful acting career, which first took a big hit back in November of 2002. He was arrested on suspicion that he hired a 14-year-old boy to pose for inappropriate pictures. He pleaded no contest and didn't receive any jail time, but he did get 5 years probation and was ordered to register as a sex offender. Surprisingly, he was able to have an acting career after all of that. He starred in the HBO show Deadwood for a few years and booked some smaller movie roles. But in 2010, his career came to an official end after he got arrested for failing to update his California sex offender status. It is something that all offenders are required to do each year. He received 3 more years of probation plus 250 hours of community service, which is probably the most work he's done in years. No offense, man. Actually, I don't even care if you're offended. You're a pervert! Halfway through at number 5 is Jason Mitchell. The up-and-coming actor lost everything after being accused of inappropriate behavior with women. The 32-year-old is best known for playing Eazy-E in the 2015 movie Straight Outta Compton. But in 2019, female co-stars came forward and accused him of sexual harassment, even Tiffany Boone, who played his on-screen girlfriend. Because of the harassment, she actually asked production to release her from her contract so that she could pursue other opportunities. As for Jason, he was fired from the 3rd season of Showtime's series called The Chi, and was also let go by Netflix for his role on Desperados. It was later announced that he was dropped by his manager and agent as well. Alright guys, we are at number 4 with Josh Duggar. Or Dugar, I don't even know. It's hard to call him an actor because he's known for being on reality TV shows, but nowadays, all reality shows are fake, so he could very well be considered an actor. His career took off with his family reality show 19 Kids and Counting. Sweet Jesus, that is a lot of kids. But the show was cancelled in 2015 after news broke that he had molested multiple underage girls, including 4 of his sisters, when he was in his teens. The allegations claim that he molested 5 girls between the years 2002 to 2003. His show was immediately cancelled and it was named one of the 10 big scandals of 2015 by USA Today. The Washington Post also listed him as one of the, I quote, 15 people the internet hated the most in 2015. Both are lists that you do not want your name on. And probably the sex offenders list also. At number 3 we have Dani Mathers. She is known for starring on TV series like Badass and The Bold and the Beautiful, but she's mainly known for her work as a Playboy model. But both sides to her career came to an end in 2016 after she posted an image of a naked 70-year-old woman at the gym with the caption, "If I can't unsee this, then you can't either." The image immediately got backlash and it resulted in her facing criminal charges. She was fired from her radio show and banned from LA fitness gyms across the US. People were outraged that she would body shame someone like that, especially to an audience as big as hers. Like millions of people saw this woman naked. Later in 2017, she faced the court and pleaded no contest to a charge of invading the woman's privacy. She was fined $1,000 and ordered to spend a month of doing community service and removing graffiti around Los Angeles. Swiping our number 2 spot is Jared Fogle. Most people will know him as the Subway guy. He was the face of Subway sandwiches after winning a weight loss contest where he said it was with the help of Subway sandwiches. He went on to act in every Subway commercial possible and also appeared in movies like Jack and Jill and Sharknado. But in 2015 it all came tumbling down after he was given a 15-year jail sentence in the Federal Correctional Institution. He pleaded guilty to charges of receiving and distributing child pornography and having sex with a minor. Recent photos surfaced online showing him during one of the prison's graduation ceremonies, and he looks drastically slimmer. It looks like he didn't need those Subway sandwiches after all. That new prison diet does the trick. Earning the number 1 spot on our list is Kevin Spacey. He was starring on the Netflix hit series House of Cards when his career suddenly came to an end after BuzzFeed published an article about him. In October 2017, an allegation made headlines from the actor Anthony Rapp, who claimed that Spacey made a sexual advance towards him when he was just 14 years old. And since then, more than 30 people have come forward with allegations ranging from harassment to attempted rape. Netflix fired him immediately and he also lost his agent and publicist. In December 2018, he was charged with a felony for allegedly sexually assaulting a journalist's 18-year-old son. He pleaded not guilty in January 2019 and the charges were dismissed after a lack of evidence and proof of deleted text messages. His last case was officially closed by the end of 2019 when charges were dropped after one woman died from cancer and another one of his victims committed suicide. It was reported that he paid no money to settle the lawsuit. Beginning the countdown list at number 10 10 is Tekashi 6ix9ine. His real name is Daniel Hernandez, but the world knows him for his rapper name Tekashi, or Tekashi 6ix9ine. He rose to fame over the past few years and captured America's attention with an escalating series of controversial behavior. Not to mention his forehead 69 tattoo. It was pretty quick to grab our attention. He sparks outrage basically wherever he goes, yet somehow he is adored by millions of people at the same time. His Gummo music video played a big part in the deplete of his music career. The video went viral and hit platinum in just a few months, but its popularity is what uncovered a lot about his life before fame, which included a guilty plea for child sex charges. The case quickly got exposed to the public eye and it was all over from there. Just 12 months later, after he shot the music video, he was in jail facing 32 years to life on charges that included armed robbery and attempted murder. How? Turns out he was linked to gangs. Through his time in court, more of his past came to light. As of this month, December 2019, he was awaiting a sentence for 6 charges that include conspiracy to commit murder, armed robbery, racketeering, and possession of a rifle. It was looking like he was unlikely to walk free from all of this, and they were saying that he could have served 1 to 37 years in prison. However, literally yesterday he was sentenced and he walked away with just a 2-year sentencing. Up next, number 9 is Felicity Huffman. The Desperate Housewives star was involved in a serious scandal earlier this year that led to her being arrested at her home. The actress was caught being involved with a college admission scam. She was accused of paying $15,000 to William Rick Singer's fake charity to help her oldest daughter Sophia cheat on the SAT, which showed that she did score 400 points higher the second time she wrote it. Cheater, cheater, pumpkin eater. Paperwork also shows that Felicity was making arrangements to pursue the scheme for a second time for her younger daughter, but decided to back out. She was arrested at gunpoint at her Los Angeles home and was later released on a $250,000 bond. She received tons of backlash ever since the scam was exposed, leading her to completely deactivating her social media accounts. She and her husband, William H. Macy, both pleaded guilty and served 11 days in federal prison. The family did get some good news though, and her youngest daughter, who wasn't involved in the scam, was accepted to Vassar College, so they are happy that she won't be negatively affected by their mistakes. Sliding into number 8 spot is James Charles. You have to be your own judge for this one on whether you think his career is truly over or not. Obviously, he is still a YouTuber, but his career took a massive hit earlier this year after he was exposed by a fellow YouTuber, Tati Westbrook. The 19-year-old YouTube star lost more than 2.5 million subscribers, and people were saying horrible things about him online, even filming videos of them destroying his makeup palettes. It all started after Tati posted a 43-minute video where she described all the things she did for him throughout his career and how he backstabbed her by promoting another beauty company instead of hers. More than 530,000 people hit the unsubscribe button on his page on the day that her video was posted. She also got really personal and began telling stories of which James apparently preyed on straight men and tried to convince straight men to be sexual with him. Accusations started coming out of people accusing him of doing so and also making claims that he is sexually manipulative in order to get what he wants. James did end up responding with a video of his own, but people did not react well to it. Like other scandals in Hollywood, it did end up blowing over in some time and the drama kind of fizzled out, but a lot of people don't look at him the same. He was also unfollowed on social media by a lot of celebrities, some that included Kylie Jenner, Kim K, Miley Cyrus, Shawn Mendes, and Katy Perry, who once partnered with him for CoverGirl. Not looking too good. Cruising into number 7 spot is Jordyn Woods. You would only know her because of the Kardashian and Jenner sisters, and I am not throwing shade, I'm just stating that as a fact. Jordyn was Kylie Jenner's best friend and they even lived together at some point. It was safe to say that she was pretty much like a sister to Kylie and the rest of the Kardashian girls. Fans got to know Jordyn through their reality show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and from there she's been able to build her own career. But all went downhill for her earlier this year when articles started surfacing saying that Jordyn was making out with Khloe's man and baby daddy Tristan Thompson. Now, he's been busted for cheating already, so that part wasn't all that surprising to us, but Jordyn was like a sister to Khloe, so that was some serious broken girl code. The girls all started tweeting out their feelings, emotions, and their side of the story. It was just a hot mess. Turns out she actually partied with him that night and spent the night at his house. The entire Kardashian family unfollowed Jordyn on social media and completely cut her off, and she moved out of Kylie's house. And at number 6 is R. Kelly. For more than 2 decades, the R&B singer has faced allegations of sexual abuse. It's actually kind of surprising to see that he's been able to have such a successful career still throughout all of that. But in 2018, news stories started coming forward accusing him of sexual assault, and claims were made that he had preyed on younger women. But this year in 2019, he was officially charged after an old documentary of his life life showed that he had been with a girl he knew was underage. Because in the video, he states her age and then apparently just forgot that he ever did that. She was an artist that he was producing for, and there was a behind the scenes footage of her recording at his studio, and he walks in the room and announces her name and age. And she was like 14. He was charged with 13 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse and 2 separate federal indictments for sex trafficking, all of which he has pleaded not guilty to. Although, you've literally been caught. As of now, he is currently sitting in jail, and it was announced in October that he will not get bail. He will be behind bars until his trial in 2020. Coming through the list, number 5 is the teen mom star Janelle Evans. She has shared her journey as a mom on MTV ever since she got pregnant at 16 and appeared on their show 16 and Pregnant. For many years, fans adored her and loved watching her story, even though it was filled with a lot of chaos and controversy. I mean, maybe that is why they liked her story. She has been one of the leading ladies on Teen Mom 2 until she was fired from the show earlier this year. It all went downhill after her husband David shot and killed their French bulldog and then openly admitted it on his Instagram. He was the first one fired from the show back in 2018 after making inappropriate remarks about the gay community. So, basically, he's a pretty stand-up guy, to say the least. But Janelle defended her husband and was threatening production that if they didn't allow her husband to film, then she would leave the show, which we saw in one of the episodes. But in May 2019, MTV released a statement saying, MTV ended its relationship with David Eason over a year ago in February 2018 and has not filmed any new episodes of Teen Mom 2 with him since. Additionally, we have stopped filming with Janelle Eason as of April 6, 2019 and have no plans to cover her story in the upcoming season. And I am watching the new season, and they did replace her. Since then, we haven't really seen much of her, but she recently announced that she is no longer with David, which is probably the best choice there, girlfriend. Alright guys, coming in at number 4 is Kevin Hunter. He is a prime example of do not piss off your wife, especially if she is your boss. Kevin is married to Wendy Williams, the leading lady and creator of The Wendy Williams Show. He worked alongside his wife for years as both an executive producer and also her manager, but was fired in April 2019 after it surfaced that he had cheated on her. But this wasn't just some drunken night mistake. He was in a full-blown relationship with another woman named Sharina Hudson for 15 years. And turns out the two of them even had a kid together. Wendy spoke on it when it made headlines, and she said, "Look, my husband had a full baby with a woman he was involved with for 15 years, where I was cooped up only to be a show pony." So needless to say, he lost his job and a decent reputation. But the two of them share their own son together and still have what Wendy calls a friendship. I will be damned if that ever happens to me. Get your ass off my show. In our third spot is Amber Portwood, another MTV star who appeared on 16 and Pregnant and then Teen Mom OG. She was one of the 4 girls that actually helped create the original Teen Mom series, and from the start her career was always pretty rocky. Throughout the series we saw her in and out of jail after struggling with drugs, alcohol, and also facing physical assault charges. But most recently in July 2019 she made news headlines after her boyfriend James of 2 years and father of her toddler filed a police report that she had attacked him with a machete and also assaulted him. Audio footage was released of a statement from court where he shared different stories of abuse he faced from her and also revealed that the night of the attack he was holding their toddler in his arms. She was charged with domestic violence committed in the presence of a child less than 16 years old, as well as intimidation. It was actually upped to a felony charge because of her previous charges for domestic violence and battery. She ended up pleading guilty to the felony intimidation charge in exchange for the other charges to be dismissed. I didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know it was a bargain. Amber ended up taking a plea deal and will not spend time behind bars if she meets all the requirements and passes all her drug tests. However, she will be on probation for 906 days. Moving on to number 2, we have Jussie Smollett. He's mainly known for his role of Jamal on the TV series Empire. His career was in the best shape of his life until his story broke the news on January 29th, 2019, saying he was in the hospital after being attacked by 2 men. The story claimed that the attackers were yelling out racial and homophobic slurs and poured a chemical substance on him before beating him. His fans and the rest of Hollywood teamed up together and began titling the attack as a hate crime. The 2 suspects in the case were both arrested and charged, but the truth all came out when it went to court. The men ended up telling the court that Jussie paid them to stage the entire thing. They even had the $3,500 signed check as evidence. On February 21st, Jussie was arrested on suspicion of filing a false police report. Under Illinois law, doing that is considered a class 4 felony and could lead to 1 1 to 3 years in prison with a judge-set bond of $100,000. They also ordered him to surrender his passport. The producers of Empire cut his character from the final 2 episodes of the current season, and they said that they were evaluating all the options for the future. Luckily for Jesse, prosecutors have now dropped all the charges against him, which is actually really annoying to me because I feel like his celebrity status got him out of that one somehow. But people don't forget, and both his career and reputation will probably never be the same as it was before. Hopefully. Earning the #1 spot on our list is Allison Mack, who is famously known for her role in the CW series Smallville. The actress lost everything when allegations came out that she was involved with a group called NXIVM, which is a company in New York labeled as a pyramid scheme, a sex trafficking operation, and a sex cult. The group would force its female followers to have sex with their leader, Keith Raniere, and get branded with his initials. Pictures have been revealed of the branding initials where you see an RK, but if you turn it sideways, you can also see the letters make an A. People from the group have said that Allison Mack was Raniere's personal slave and was one of the top members who organized the illegal sex schemes. Her entire career shattered after she pleaded guilty to racketeering conspiracy and her alleged role in a sex trafficking case. As part of her guilty plea, Mack admitted to state law extortion and forced labor. After her initial arrest, she was released on a $5 million bond. She was supposed to be sentenced on September 11th of this year, but the dates were adjourned to allow time to complete some pre-sentencing reports, so we are still waiting for a further update. She could face up to 40 years in prison.
And at number 10, Armie Hammer. As more and more comes out against Armie Hammer, it's safe to say that his career is basically over. The actor shot to fame in his roles in Call Me By Your Name and The Social Network, but recently multiple women have come forward with disturbing allegations against Hammer, with many expressing that he had scary fetishes and many times he would take things way too far for the women. There were even allegations surfacing that he might be a The story got even darker last week when a woman came forward in a video press conference expressing that he forced himself on her for over 4 hours. Apparently during the incident he slammed her head into a wall and whipped her feet with a crop, with her stating that she did not consent to these actions. As a result of the first string of allegations, he stepped away from an upcoming film with Jennifer Lopez called Shotgun Wedding. And now with these most recent allegations, it seems that he could actually face serious jail time. And at number 9, Ralph Fiennes. After backlash began mounting against writer J.K. Rowling, calling her transphobic, many actors in the Harry Potter franchise spoke out against Rowling and in support of trans people. However, actor Ralph Fiennes, who plays Voldemort in the film, stood by her, commenting in an interview, quote, "I can't understand the vitriol directed at her. I can understand the heat of an argument, but I find this age of accusation and the need to condemn irrational. I find the level of hatred that people express about views that differ from theirs and the violence of language towards others disturbing." Here it seems he wasn't supporting her statements, rather just condemning the reaction that came from her statements. However, many fans were saddened that the actor did not understand why many found her statements to be offensive. And at number 8, Kate Hudson. Kate Hudson is getting tons of backlash after she starred in the movie Music, directed by singer Sia. The film is about an autistic girl named Music, whom Hudson plays her older sister, and the film is being called an ableist film. The negative reaction against Hudson got even worse after it was announced that she was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for her performance in the movie. Tina Fey, the host of the 2021 Golden Globes, even made a comment against Hudson in her monologue, saying that Hudson's involvement in the film was the quote most offensive casting since Kate Hudson was a Weight Watchers spokesperson. Despite the backlash, Hudson still appeared on the telecast saying that she loved making the movie. Quote, "As an actress and a singer and a dancer, it's everything you'd want to experience," Hudson said. In at number 7, Maddie Ziegler. Dancer and now actress Maddie Ziegler got massive backlash after she decided to participate in the controversial Sia film called Music. In Music, Ziegler plays a nonverbal autistic teenager who comes under the care of her half-sister, played by Kate Hudson, after the death of her grandmother. When the trailer was released, it got immediate backlash from autism advocates, specifically for the fact that the lead role was not played by an autistic actor. Petitions sprung up on change.org to stop the release of the film, saying the film contributes to harmful stereotypes. Ziegler has not responded to the backlash. Instead, she has chosen to not promote the film whatsoever and rather focus people's attention on her upcoming projects. However, it's going to be difficult for her to recover from such massive backlash. And at number 6, James Corden. James Corden is another actor who is getting backlash after he was nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy for The Prom at the 2021 Golden Globes. His casting in the film was criticized first and foremost because Corden is a straight man who played a gay character in the film, but now he's getting more backlash after the nomination because of his lackluster performance. Many are specifically calling him out for a stereotypical depiction of a gay man, with many others bringing up his past performance in the film Cats as well, saying he should have never acted again after that performance. Have at number 5, Lily Collins. Actress Lily Collins got in some backlash for being the lead character in one of the most hated TV shows this year, Emily in Paris. The show that was debuted on Netflix follows a 20-something-year-old Chicago woman who moves to Paris after she receives a surprising job opportunity. But the series was met with tons of criticism, critiquing the way that the city and its people are portrayed, as well as the cliches and stereotypes. And the reviews by both critics and viewers were harsh. On Rotten Tomatoes, the show received a 63% tomato meter scoring and a 59% audience rating, so not good obviously. And a lot of the criticism fell to Collins. She responded to the criticism in an interview with Vogue Arabia, where she said that the criticism is disheartening, but she sees it as a way to improve. She also hopes to evolve the narrative in the second season. Am I the only one? I really don't understand the hate towards the show. I mean, it's not a great show, but I don't feel we need to hate on it. It was kind of cute. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And at number 4, Gina Carano. Gina Carano was publicly fired after she shared a controversial Instagram story where she compared being conservative now to being Jewish in the Second World War. The post was an attempt to compare the events of the Second World War to so-called cancel culture. Carano ended up taking the picture down, but the backlash had already begun. She was quickly fired from The Mandalorian and the Star Wars universe, as well as being dropped by her agency, UTA. After the firing, many critiqued the decision and claimed this was proof of an anti-conservative bias in Hollywood. However, given her frequent controversial posts, this seemed to be the last straw, and it seems that her days in Hollywood might be over. And at number 3, Tom Cruise. Late last year, a leaked audio recording showed Tom Cruise screaming at the top of his lungs on the set of the latest Mission Impossible movie. The yelling was because he witnessed a breach in COVID protocol by set members, and he was doing everything in his power to not have another filming delay that would increase production costs. Some of the yelling said, quote, "We are creating thousands of jobs. I don't ever want to see it again. Ever. And if you don't do it, you're fired." The response to the clip has been mixed, with some saying that the yelling was warranted and it was all in the name of safety. However, others felt that yelling to the degree that he was inexcusable and bordered on a toxic and harmful work environment. And at number 2, Sharon Osbourne. The controversial actress and TV host was called out for her stance in support of Piers Morgan after he made some nasty remarks towards Meghan Markle. The viral moment took place on the show The Talk, when Osbourne was confronted about why she chose to support Morgan during his exit from Good Morning Britain. During the exchange, people felt she was insensitive towards her black co-host, Cheryl Underwood. As a result of the touchy moment, the show has gone on hiatus, with Osbourne looking into why she was put on the chopping block, as well as network executives looking into allegations that Osbourne had made insensitive comments toward co-hosts in the past. As well, actress Leah Remini has stated that Osbourne got her fired from that show, and many are thinking this could lead to her departing the show for good. And at number 1, Justin Timberlake. After the Framing Britney Spears documentary came out, Britney's fans started to realize just how horrible Justin had treated her. Some of these clips include him speaking about their intimate relationship on late-night talk shows, when that was something that she was keeping hidden at the time, as well as the fact that he used a Britney look-alike in the Crimea River music video after the breakup, which made everyone think that she had cheated. All this brought up past criticisms of Timberlake for his handling of the infamous Janet Jackson incident, which made her look way worse than him. In response to all the backlash, he posted a lengthy apology to Instagram. However, many felt that the apology was too little too late, and was only made because he was being called out, not because he actually meant it. And since this controversy unearthed many terrible things about Timberlake, it could be too much for fans to forgive. And at number 10, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was a rising star in Hollywood. She was on the hit show Grey's Anatomy, along with getting cast in tons of rom-coms like Knocked Up. But her career went downhill fast after 2 terrible interviews where she offended the very people that were getting her recognition in Hollywood. In one, she revealed she didn't think she deserved an Emmy for Grey's Anatomy because she didn't like her storyline. In another interview, she said the film Knocked Up was, quote, kind of sexist. These comments got her labeled as difficult and ungrateful. Recently, she's come back into the industry and managed to land some roles, but she's still desperately trying to get back in people's good graces. And at number 9, Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash was beloved in her role in the classic film Clueless, but after years as an actress, she got increasingly political and it completely derailed her acting career. She started being vocal on Twitter around 2015, once saying that transgender people should, quote, pee in the bushes instead of using public restrooms, and then she said that women that accuse men of taking advantage of them are just, quote, bad girls. Actress Gabrielle Union even once called her a crazy lady. Her support of conservative politics ended up landing her a spot on Fox News. However, she recently left the network and claimed that they had forced her to be a, quote, angry black woman, as well as taking back some of her more controversial statements. And at number 8, Elizabeth Berkley. Elizabeth Berkley burst into the spotlight, playing Jesse Spano in Saved by the Bell. But when the series was over, Berkeley decided to play older and more mature roles to break out of the teenage character the public had known her for, and she was cast in the movie Showgirls. She thought the movie was going to be a hit, but instead it was an epic failure that got horrible reviews. Berkeley took home Razzies for the Worst Actress and Worst New Star award. The film was even nominated for the Worst Picture of the Decade at one point. After this disaster, the industry turned their back on Berkeley, and she was no longer considered a leading lady to movie studios. And at number 7, Remy Ma. At one point, Remy Ma was one of only 5 female rappers to ever top the charts, and was incredibly successful. But that all changed after she had some cash stolen out of her purse, and she assumed it was by a lady named Makeda Barnes Joseph, so Remy decided to shoot her. Apparently, while the ladies were fighting over the purse, Remy's gun went off, and the other woman was shot 2 times. Apparently, while the woman was on the ground bleeding, Remy took the purse and left. She ended up serving 6 years in jail, and when she came out, her career never recovered. And at number 6, Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner became a hero for LGBTQ people when she came out as trans in 2015, and brought trans issues into the forefront of the conversation. She continued sharing her journey on the show I Am Kate, but her good relationship with the trans community changed in 2016 when she revealed that she was a proud supporter of Ted Cruz and President Trump. Many people in the trans community found her opinions hypocritical, especially considering Ted Cruz is a vocal supporter of controversial anti-trans bathroom bills. Matters were made worse when Caitlyn did an interview on The Ellen Show and reluctantly revealed that she's okay with gay marriage, even then stating that she's very conservative in those beliefs. I Am Kate was cancelled after 2 seasons, and support for her in the trans community has dwindled. Halfway at number 5, Taylor Kitsch. Actor Taylor Kitsch was primed to become a hockey player, but at the age of 20 he was badly injured and had to find another path in life. This other path became acting, and after he decided that's what he wanted to do, he lived a hard life to make his dreams happen. He was even homeless at some points. He then landed the role as Tim Riggins in Friday Night Lights and quickly developed a loyal fan base. Then in 2012 he got the role of a lifetime, leading the John Carter adaptation. But it was a complete failure and lost the studio $200 million. After a similar failure months later with the movie Battleship, studios no longer wanted to take the risk on him as their leading man, and he stopped getting cast in lead roles. And at number 4, Chris Brown. Chris Brown was one of the hottest rappers in the game in the early 2010s, and after he started dating Rihanna, his fame exploded even further. But that all changed in 2009 when he physically Rihanna, leaving her face bloody and bruised. The domestic violence case led Brown's career to tank, as well as deals getting cancelled and his songs taken off of radio stations. He even had a request for a UK visa revoked because of this incident. His career and public image plummeted, but that was not the first time that he was in trouble with the law. A few years later, while in Times Square, Brown again lost control and threw an object at a window, causing property damage. He's also been involved in plenty of other domestic disputes as well as legal issues. Crazy enough, he still collaborates with tons of other artists, but the public will never forgive him. And at number 3, Oscar Pistorius. Oscar Pistorius became known around the world for participating in the Paralympics. The South African athlete was born missing the outside of both feet and both fibulae. Both of his feet were amputated when he was only 11 months old due to this, but he decided to become a sprinter and was an inspiration to many around the world. But that all changed on Valentine's Day in 2013 when Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. At first he claimed that he mistook her for an intruder and it was all an accident, but as time went on, it was revealed that it was a lie. After he was charged, many sponsors dropped Pistorius, including Nike. In 2016, he was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment for murder. And at number 2, John Travolta. John Travolta's career is a bit of a rocky one, but luckily for him he's been in a few legendary movies that have made him a certified A-list actor. He became a household name from his role in Grease, but after that he wasn't a part of anything really notable, until Pulp Fiction changed everything, and he proved he was able to carry an action-packed and mysterious role. But even with the insane success of Pulp Fiction and other movies shortly after, Travolta made a string of bad decisions that moved him to the bottom of the barrel in the acting world. The final nail in the coffin was Battlefield Earth, which was branded one of the worst movies ever made by The Guardian. The movie is so bad it has 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. Since then, Travolta's career has been officially sunk, and he's trying hard to redeem himself. And finally, at number 1, Tom Green. At one point, Tom Green was the hottest thing in comedy, and it was looking like he was the next big thing. He even got his own show on MTV simply called The Tom Green Show. At this point, everyone wanted Green to make a movie for their network, and 20th Century Fox was no exception. With that studio, Green made a movie called Freddie Got a comedy that was a horrific box office disappointment. After that disaster to fans and studios, Green has been unable to recapture the public's interest. Freddie Got Fingered has slowly entered cult status over the years, but is still considered a massive disappointment. And at number 10, Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was a huge movie star in the early 2010s, being known for box office hits like The Mummy and Journey to the Center of the Earth. But out of nowhere, he just stopped being cast in things, and his name started to follow the question, whatever happened to that guy? It seems his entire career changed course when he decided to turn down the lead role in the sequel to Journey of the Center of the Earth, called Journey to the Mysterious Island. The role went to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson instead, and that movie was even bigger than the first. He not only decided to decline that role, but he also accepted roles in 2 other movies that flopped. After this, his career took a sharp decline, and he was not able to recover from it. However, he is now starring in a movie that will be released soon, and fans are calling it the Renaissance. And at number 9, Michael Richards. The legendary Seinfeld actor got serious backlash after he started calling a member of his audience racial slurs because this person was heckling him during a stand-up routine. This went down in 2006, and in response to the heckling, Richards decided to call him the N-word along with other slurs, and demanding that the African-American customer be thrown out of the club. The backlash was so harsh that he decided to leave the stage before his routine was even over. In 2006, Michaels tried to revitalize his image by apologizing for the comments on The Late Show with David Letterman. However, it seems the apology was not taken well because his career took a nosedive after that appearance. Since this incident, Richards has only appeared in 2 roles, one on Curb Your Enthusiasm and another on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. And at number 8, Tila Tequila Nugent. Tila Tequila got her fame from MySpace, and at one point she was the most well-known person on the platform. Since she was an internet celebrity, MTV decided to give her a dating show called A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila in 2007, and she was even cast in a Hollywood movie as well. But her career came to a screeching halt when she decided to post an article to her website describing why she sympathized with who was of course the German leader during the Second World War. In the piece, she claimed he was, quote, not a bad person as they made him out to be. She even posted photos of herself in his memorabilia. Tequila attempted to get her career back on track in 2015 when she appeared as a housemate on the UK celebrity Big Brother, but she was kicked out once people learned of her past. And at number 7, Brian Williams. Brian Williams was one of the top news anchors ever, filling the coveted nightly news spot on NBC. He was even so well respected that he was frequently a guest on Saturday Night Live and 30 Rock. But that all changed when it was exposed that Williams was a liar. The lie first started back in 2003, and he basically claimed that he was riding in a military helicopter that was forced to the ground while flying over Iraq. The plane was hit by an RPG and almost crashed. He kept repeating the story over and over for years after, even mentioning it on The Late Show with David Letterman in 2013. But when the world found out this whole story was a lie, everyone was shocked and felt that they couldn't trust him again. He ended up getting a 6-month unpaid suspension from NBC, and his career took a huge hit. He never came back to his role and was demoted to a smaller network after. And at number 6, Paul Reubens. Paul Reubens was known to the world as the lovable character of Pee Wee Herman that was huge in the 1980s. The children's show even won an Emmy, enhancing his celebrity status even further. But things all went south in 1991 when it was revealed that he was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater. Because of this, Pee Wee toys were pulled from shelves across the nation, and he was out of the spotlight for the rest of the 90s. He tried to make a comeback years later, but that was halted when even more charges of a sexual nature were brought against him. After this, his public reputation hit new lows, and nobody wanted to be associated with him. But he did come back once again in 2016 to play Pee Wee Herman in the Netflix film Pee Wee's Big Holiday. Surprisingly, it had a good reaction, I assume because people forgot about his past. Halfway number 5, Rob Lowe. So crazy enough, the person that we talked about last, Paul Reubens, is actually connected to Rob Lowe's scandal. Rob Lowe was a prominent actor in the 80s, however when Reubens was being busted by the cops, they discovered an adult tape starring Rob Lowe. After this, his career took a huge hit. Lowe did not end up facing any legal repercussions because the age of consent is 16 in Georgia, but his public reputation did not recover. He even lost a role in the Titanic because of all the scandals. But over the years he was able to get back into the spotlight and was cast in movies like Wayne's World, Tommy Boy, and Parks and Rec. And at number 4, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes was one of the biggest stars in the 2000s, starring in the hit show The Amanda Show, along with movies like She's the Man and What a Girl Wants. But sadly, like a lot of other child stars, she struggled to deal with the fame and derailed her career with substance abuse. This caused her to have a complete Twitter meltdown after she was arrested, tweeting all sorts of disturbing things. In her 2012 tweet storm, she told Drake that she wanted to sleep with him in much more colorful language. She also tweeted Rihanna telling her that, quote, Chris Brown beat you because you're not pretty enough. She ended the night by lighting a driveway on fire. Because of all this, she was put in a psychiatric facility and her career was put on hold. She has not come back to the spotlight since. In at number 3, Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle became a bona fide celebrity after he became the face of Subway sandwiches and promoted the sandwiches as a tool for his weight loss. His celebrity status even got him roles in movies and spots on late night shows. But this all came to a screeching halt when it was exposed that he had participated in indecent conduct with along with having illegal images. Fogle had been on the FBI's radar since 2007, and they finally arrested him in 2015. He got 15 years in prison, his wife divorced him, and Subway cut all ties with him. But unfortunately, his connection to Subway was too strong for the public to ignore, and the company's reputation took a huge hit because of the scandal. And at number 2, Paula Deen. Paula Deen was once one of America's favorite celebrity chefs, making good southern food for television. She was even cast on shows like Top Chef, Master Chef, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and a role in an actual movie called Elizabethtown. But in 2012, her empire was destroyed after it was exposed that she regularly said the N-word. Deen was even sued by the general manager of one of her restaurants, as they claimed that Deen would frequently use the N-word in the workplace. In testimony during the trial, the manager's lawyer asked Deen if she had ever used the N-word before, and she replied, quote, yes, of course. After these statements, she was cut from the Food Network, and it seems that she doesn't even really care. She tweeted a photo of her son in blackface only years later. And finally, at number 1, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is no stranger to controversy. It's partly what's made her famous. However, she took one joke way too far and it ended up costing her her career. In May of 2017, Griffin posted a picture of herself holding a decapitated Donald Trump mannequin head. She did this stunt in an attempt to mock Trump, but it kinda sorta looked like a potential threat against the president's life, which is not tolerated in the media. The FBI even investigated her over the picture. Griffin apologized, saying in a statement, quote, I don't think I'm going to have a career after this, I'm going to be honest, Trump broke me. But months later, she actually retracted her apology and decided the backlash against her was too much. As a result, she was banned from CNN and her stand-up shows were cancelled. And at number 10, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes' career was taking off and he was known for many roles. But his career was derailed not because of his acting or even anything he did in public, but instead because he didn't pay his taxes. You'd assume that he would just pay it back and it would be no big deal, but his tax evasion was so egregious that he was actually sentenced to jail for his crimes. He was found guilty of willfully not filing taxes for 3 years and got 1 year in prison for every year he didn't pay taxes. He was also forced to pay back $17 million to the government. This was what he owed in taxes, along with fines and penalties. His time in jail put his career on hold, and when he came out, no one wanted to hire him. And at number 9, Paz de la Huerta. This actress was going to be huge. Even when she wasn't that well known, she was being covered in the press for her outrageous antics. Like one time when she allegedly went into a sauna while covered in honey. While she was filming the show Boardwalk Empire, she developed a reputation for being a party girl, and this was basically the beginning of the end. TMZ got footage of her incredibly drunk after the Golden Globes. She even slipped and fell at one point. Then she was arrested for assault after she allegedly threw a glass at someone then punched them in the face. Things got worse when reports came out that she was horrible on set and she would show up to set erratic and unprofessional. She was fired shortly after and her career did not recover from the hit. And at number 8, CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green gained prominence in the 2010s and he was actually a pretty big name in the industry. He even got some acting gigs as a result of his music success, and he started judging on The Voice. But it seems like his big mouth ended up getting him into trouble. In October of 2012, he was accused of SA, a form of assault, and he ended up getting sentenced to probation and community service. But the real issue happened when he spoke about it on Twitter days later. He basically argued that if someone passed out and someone else tries to take advantage of them, it's not violating them because they consented. Obviously, this makes no sense and is just incredibly disturbing. He said in part on Twitter, quote, if someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with implies consent. After this, he was kicked off TV and he was even kicked from festivals that he planned to perform at. He's laid low ever since. And at number 7, Tonya Harding. Tonya Harding should be known as a figure skating legend who was the first American woman to land a triple axel in competition, but she's not. Instead, she's known as the vicious woman who harmed her competition in order to stay on top of the skating world. Her career was primed to reach new heights until someone hired hired a hitman to break Nancy Kerrigan's leg in hopes of giving Harding a better shot at the national championship. It didn't take long for people to suspect Tanya was behind it, and eventually word got out that her husband, Jeff Gillooly, and his friend were the masterminds behind this plan. Tanya claimed that she had no knowledge of the attack before it happened, but she did admit she learned of it after. She ended up pleading guilty as a conspirator to avoid jail time. She paid a $160,000 fine, was forced to withdraw from the 1994 World Figure Skating Championships, and was banned from figure skating for life. And at number 6, Robert Blake. Robert Blake had a career spanning decades, and he went from child stardom to respected adult actor. But everything changed in his personal and public life when his wife was killed in 2001. The details of the case were incredibly suspicious, and almost immediately Blake was a suspect. Bonnie Lee Bakley, his wife, was shot in his car, which was parked around the corner from a restaurant the couple was eating at that night. Apparently, he left his wife in the car while he went back into the restaurant to look for his quote missing gun, and when he came back, she was dead. There wasn't enough evidence to charge Blake with anything until 2 men came forward shortly after, claiming that Blake offered to pay them to kill his wife. 3 years after his arrest, Blake was acquitted, though a civil court claim later found him guilty of intentionally causing Bakley's death and ordered him to pay $30 million to her kids. But after this spectacle, his career was done. Halfway at number 5, Alan Carr. One terrible performance at the 1989 Oscars not only ruined Alan Carr's career, but also a budding actress by the name of Eileen Bowman. Producer Alan Carr was left in charge of the Oscars, and his worst mistake was opening the show with a performance from Snow White, starring Eileen Bowman, that was a complete disaster. Firstly, it made no sense, and it was very eccentric, and then Rob Lowe joined later to make the whole thing even cringier. The Hollywood Reporter called the number a nightmare, while the New York Times said it had earned a permanent place as the worst Oscar embarrassments. The worst treatment probably went to Bowman, who fled the city and went home to San Diego within hours of the performance. She wasn't able to return, and it's still dubbed as one of Alan Carr's worst decisions. In at number 4, Rebecca Gayheart. Rebecca Gayheart was best known for her roles in 90210 as well as Jawbreaker, and her career looked like it was going to continue to be great until 2001, when she hit and killed a who was crossing the street. It was actually her negligence that led to the death, because other cars around them had stopped for the boy before Gayheart failed to stop and hit him. She settled a wrongful death lawsuit with the boy's family, but the damage to her career was done, and nobody wants to work with someone who was convicted of such a terrible crime. Since then, she's been demoted to small guest starring roles. And at number 3, the Dixie Chicks. The Dixie Chicks are known as a legendary country group, and the ladies enjoyed chart-topping success while they were on top, but a wrong political move kicked the women off their pedestal. The lead singer Natalie Maines bashed President George W. Bush during a live concert in 2002. She said, quote, "Just so you know, we're on the good side with y'all. We do not want this war, this violence, and we're ashamed that the President of the United States is from Texas." But bashing the president was not as well accepted as it is now, and the women were promptly met with outrage. Country music genre completely blacklisted them, and their music was even boycotted by a number of radio stations in the aftermath. They tried to come back, but it didn't work. And at number 2, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey was huge in the 80s, starring in movies like Dirty Dancing and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She was particularly known for her unique nose that was unlike the typical noses in Hollywood and really made her stand out. But while her career was taking off, she decided to get a nose job in 1989, assuming that it would help her get more roles. But the issue with this is that when she looked like everyone else, she wasn't unique anymore, and sadly her career shrank alongside her nose. Her nose job was minor, but because her nose was so distinct before, it made her completely unrecognizable. She said about the regrettable procedure, quote, "I went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous." And because nobody recognized her, she stopped landing roles and her career faded fast. And finally, at number 1, Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was primed to be a football star. He was rising up the ranks in football incredibly fast and even signed a $41 million contract with the New England Patriots. But everything in his life changed when he was accused of killing a man. He ended up being found guilty of this murder and sentenced to life in prison. While in prison, he had apparently been linked to other deaths, and it's widely believed that he's killed 4 people. But the story with Aaron got even more tragic because he took his own life while in prison in 2017. Many believe this happened because of the shame the entire debacle caused him and his family. Starting off our list at number 10, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was known for his roles in movies like the Lethal Weapon series, the Mad Max series, and Braveheart. But now he's mostly known for being anti-Semitic. In 2009, Gibson was arrested for driving under the influence with an open container of alcohol in his vehicle. The officer refused to let Gibson drive himself home, obviously, and then Gibson totally lost it, ranting about Jewish people and saying that they're responsible for all the wars in the world. Gibson even asked the officer if he was Jewish. That wasn't the last time he was caught using slurs either. He was also caught using the N-word on a call in 2010. After this, his reputation took a massive hit. And at number 9, Megan Fox. Megan Fox's career was destroyed after one bad interview. She was primed to be one of the biggest actresses ever, as the leading lady of the Transformers franchise. But in one interview, she completely trashed the film's director, Michael Bay, and was cut from the movie as a result. During a 2009 interview with Wonderland magazine, she was asked about working with Bay, to which she responded that he wants to be like Napoleon and wants to have an infamous madman reputation. But then she said in real life, he's actually incredibly awkward with no social skills at all. Yikes. Steven Spielberg reportedly did not take kindly to her comments, and she was then kicked out of the third and fourth film. After that, her career completely diminished, and she only just started to get back into the spotlight in 2020. And at number 8, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was once the most respected golfer in the world, as well as being one of the highest paid athletes. But that all came to a halt when his professional image was shattered after it was exposed that he had cheated on his wife with countless women. It all came to a head in 2009 when he crashed his Escalade into a tree in his own front yard, with many claiming that his ex-wife kicking him out caused the crash. After he confessed to all the cheating, his image was ruined and all of his sponsors dropped him. After years of laying low, he came back strong, winning the 2019 Masters, although he is still tied to his party boy image. His career took another hit recently when he veered off a hill and his car rolled down the hill, causing many injuries that might even mean the end of his career. And at number 7, Kanye West. It's absolutely shocking that Kanye West still has a career despite all his scandals. Just some of his biggest scandals have been stealing the mic from Taylor Swift, being a public Trump supporter, and admitting his wife Kim almost terminated her pregnancy with North, along with starting feuds with most of the biggest rappers and singers. But even after all that and a failed presidential run, Kanye still has some of the most loyal fans ever. Some even think that his resiliency might just be in part to PR strategy, as Kanye only really seems to get into scandals when he has an album to promote. And at number 6, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey, of course, is one of the most talented singers ever, and even though she's gotten into some scandals for shading other celebrities in the past, the thing that really hurt her career was bad lip syncing. And in 2017, while she was performing live at the New Year's Eve show, millions watched as her performance became a complete train wreck. While she was performing the song Emotions, it seemed that her inner ear headphones stopped working and she froze, not really knowing what to do. After some terrible lip syncing, where it was clear her voice did not match up, she walked off stage mid-performance. After the fact, she claimed that she was set up by producers, but it was hard to believe and it looked like she was just too young to be performing. Halfway number 5, Ashley Simpson. This is one of those accidents that sadly ruined her career. While Ashley was on SNL to perform, her first song went off without an issue, but her second song caused an infamous moment that the internet will never forget. When the music started, the vocals for the track she sang before started to play, making it incredibly clear she was lip syncing. Nobody knew what to do, so her band just kept playing while she danced around the stage and did not sing a word. In the days that followed, the singer was attacked in the media for lip syncing, which is especially bad on an all-live show. After the incident, she tried to set the record straight and explain why she lip synced. She told MTV that she lost her voice because of acid reflux, and instead of canceling the appearance, she thought it was better for everyone if she just faked it. But her career did not recover after that. And at number 4, Ryan Lochte. Ryan Lochte is an Olympic swimmer, and he was known to the world as a heartthrob. He went into the 2012 London Olympics with $2.3 million worth of endorsements. He was even more famous coming into the 2016 Rio Olympics, so his sponsorship deals were presumably even more. But when he didn't deliver in the Olympic Games, it seemed he took his anger out in the form of a lie. The incident was called Lochtegate, wherein he claimed that he and his teammates were robbed and their lives were threatened by some thugs in Rio. After many went out looking for the criminals, he was forced to reveal that he made the whole thing up. In the end, he lost several of his sponsorships, including Speedo and Ralph Lauren, as well as his reputation. He was also banned from swimming for 10 months. And at number 3, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is known for throwing it down in the ring, wrestling his opponents, and putting on a great show. But after an adult tape starring Hogan was leaked, his career was never the same. You'd think it was because of the scandalous nature of the tape, but it wasn't that at all. It was because on this intimate tape, you can hear Hogan saying the N-word multiple times. To make matters worse, many of these racist comments were directed at his daughter Brooke's boyfriend at the time, who is black. He even said on the tape that he would feel better about her dating a black man if he was some sort of basketball player worth millions of dollars. Hogan sued the website Gawker after the fact for leaking the video, and Hogan got a massive payout from the lawsuit because his career was essentially over after that leak. He not only was removed from all WWE events, but he was even taken out of their Hall of Fame. And at number 2, Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried has an unforgettable voice that has made him a household name. After starring in many roles in Hollywood, he made his money by being the voice of the Aflac Duck. Aflac is an insurance company, and the duck has been their mascot since 1999. But after he posted an insensitive tweet about a tsunami that killed thousands of people in Japan, he was promptly fired. The tweet said, quote, "Japan is really advanced. They don't go to the beach comes to them." The tweet was made even worse by the fact that 75% of the business Aflac does is in Japan, and he offended their largest customer base. And finally, number 1, Miles Teller. Miles Teller burst onto the Hollywood scene in Damien Chazelle's 2014 directorial debut, Whiplash, which got plenty of critical acclaim. He even got a role in the Divergent series, which got him a lot more exposure. But his career really hit a snag because of a string of really bad interviews. In a 2014 interview with the New York Times, Teller said, quote, "I feel like a lot of actors of my generation are not proper actors. I want to break out of that whole group of actors in their early 20s and really start to put stuff down that lets you know I take this seriously." He even trashed John Cusack after a reporter compared the two of them. Teller said they are similar in some ways, but quote, "I don't want his career." In an interview later in 2015, he came off incredibly cocky. The author of the piece even wrote about Teller, quote, "So yeah, he's kind of a dick." He started to get cast in things again, but public perception of him is still very bad. And at number 10, Demi Moore. Demi Moore's career was taking off and she was on her way to becoming a well-respected actress, but that all changed when the film G.I. Jane was released and put her promising career on hold. She was even awarded a parody award for the worst actress for her role in that film. But Demi doesn't actually see it that way, and she revealed that G.I. Jane is one of her favorite movies, and she feels that it's very underrated. Demi said in one interview, quote, "It was that kind of criticism that really sent me to a space where I lost a little bit of passion and that maybe disheartened me." One of the studio execs even shared how much the film hurt her marketability in Hollywood, saying, quote, "People just don't want to see her. We would have to drag them kicking and screaming to see this movie." And at number 9, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's career got a second wind when he landed the show 2.5 Men, and it became a smash hit. He had been known for his partying in wild ways that all played out in the media during his divorce with Denise Richards, but everyone seemed to forget about his questionable past when 2.5 Men started. But after some time being on top again, his career tanked once again because of substance. After the show's creator Chuck Lorre was growing tired of Charlie's substance issues, he decided to fire him. Sheen then had a meltdown where he screamed profanities at Lorre, including anti-Semitic remarks, which cemented Lorre's decision. Ashton Kutcher then replaced him, and after a few episodes, no one really cared that Charlie was gone. And at number 8, Thomas Gibson. Thomas Gibson was best known from Criminal Minds, and his career was really taking off. Until 2016 when he got into a fight with one of the show's co-executive producers and ended up kicking him. Gibson was temporarily suspended so the show could do an investigation, but after the investigation they realized it was the tip of the iceberg. His behavior on set was unacceptable, so he was prematurely kicked off the show. The official statement read, quote, "Thomas Gibson has been dismissed from Criminal Minds. Creative details for how the character's exit will be addressed in the show will be announced at a later date." Apparently the kick was the third strike after another on-set outburst, as well as a DUI, and his reputation never recovered. And at number 7, David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff was a household name until his daughter leaked an embarrassing tape of his, and the public never looked at him the same way since. In 2006, his daughter posted a video of Hasselhoff eating off the floor in a drunken stupor. And this was not the beginning of his misuse of drugs and alcohol, and his substance issues caused him to not only lose his career, but his family as well, unfortunately. After all the scandal surrounding Hasselhoff's name, Hollywood nor the public wanted to be associated with him, and his reputation tanked. He got sober in 2009 and tried to come back into the spotlight, but the damage was already done. And at number 6, Mark Salling. Mark Salling rose to fame on the hit show Glee, but his career and public opinion of him tanked in 2016 when it was revealed that he possessed illegal images featuring minors. After he was charged with various crimes related to this, he was promptly cut from the miniseries Adi Shankaraj's Gods and Secrets. The director revealed this on his Facebook page, writing, quote, "He has been cut from the miniseries. I will personally be paying for the reshoots, and I hope that Mark finds inner peace." After this was exposed, even more allegations of crimes came to light, and everyone was cutting ties with him. Salling pled guilty to the charges but took his own life before he was sentenced. Halfway at number 5, Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett was best known for his role in Empire at the time of his scandal, although he wasn't a household name. but his fame exploded to new heights when he alleged that two white men who were wearing MAGA hats attacked him, shouting racist and homophobic slurs. The whole world supported him and he became somewhat of a figurehead against racial hate, until it was revealed that it was all a lie, and he actually paid two men to attack him. After it was revealed that he faked everything, the city of Chicago sued him for filing a fake police report, as well as the cost of investigating the attack, for over $130,000. On February 11th of 2020, Smollett was indicted again by a Cook County grand jury on 6 counts pertaining to making 4 false police reports, and he was of course blacklisted from the industry. And at number 4, Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway was set to become Hollywood royalty with movies like Bonnie and Clyde and Chinatown under her belt. But it seemed that her head got too big for her cast and crew, and she quickly developed a reputation for being difficult, which is never a label you want to get in the industry before you're a bona fide A-list star. Then to make things worse, Bette Davis came out against her on Johnny Carson. When Carson asked who was the worst person in Hollywood, she replied, quote, "Faye Dunaway, and everybody you can put in this chair would tell you exactly the same thing." When asked to elaborate, she added, quote, "I don't think we have the time to go into all the reasons, she's just uncooperative." After this, her career was over. And at number 3, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner made a name for himself as the lovable hunk in the Twilight series, and he was cast in a number of other movies at the time because of his star power. But there were fears that he was asking for way more money than he was worth, and when the big paychecks Hollywood paid him didn't result in box office success, he was quickly blacklisted. To make matters worse, he starred in a movie called Abduction that was rated so poorly that Lautner ended up leaving Hollywood after. And at number 2, Alex Pettyfer. Alex Pettyfer rose to fame as the hunk in the movie I Am Number 4 and Beastly, but since he rose to fame so fast, his arrogance got the best of him and he was branded difficult and disrespectful. An unnamed source who worked with Pettyfer on the set of I Am Number 4 told the publication, quote, "He was a nightmare and irrational. He had no body of work to remotely justify his behavior." But that's not all. He also did a horrible interview in 2011 where he basically offended all of Hollywood. In the interview, he basically trashed LA, calling it a shithole, and saying that the people that live there are all "see you next Tuesdays." Yeah, I can't say that word. Pettyfer did not reprise his central role in the 2015 Magic Mike sequel, Magic Mike XXL, and his work since is minimal. And finally, at number 1, Tom Cruise. Of course, Tom Cruise's career will never be fully ruined because he will always be considered an A-list actor. But over the years, he's made some serious dents in his reputation. The worst might be Cruise's interview with Matt Lauer, where his temper changes dramatically, showing the world that Cruise has a very short fuse. In the 2005 interview, Lauer asked Cruise about his comments criticizing Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants for her postpartum depression. Cruise kept going on that he doesn't agree with it, and when asked why, Cruise added, quote, "You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do," along with getting more combative as the conversation went on. That, in part with his sketchy divorce from Katie Holmes, made public opinion of him tank.